You may have asked yourself this question when you first heard about functions in Flash. There's so much crazy verbiage that it gets really confusing. The purpose of this video is to explain what functions and methods are in the simplest way possible. Let's say you're doing something in Flash. You're doing some ActionScript programming, and your programming requires a large block of code. A large block of code that you're going to be using over and over again. Functions are simply a way to reuse that code. A function is simply a reusable block of code. You can consider a function sort of like a verb in Flash. Functions can also return a value. We'll talk about that a little bit later though. Some common functions you may have already used are play, stop, and load movie. Notice that these actions are actions. They do something. They're like verbs, if you will. Play, stop, load a movie, or get URL, or something like that. So these are just some common functions that you've already been using. You can also create custom functions. And I'm going to briefly explain what this code does. This is just the function name right here. And that is equal to a function, an open and close parenthesis. That's where you would put parameters for your go to and play action. You would put frame number or frame label inside of the parentheses. This is the same thing. The colon and void, this code simply means that this function is not going to return a value. And then you have an open bracket and a closed bracket. You put whatever you want the function to do inside of the brackets. For example, this function tells MC underscore car that the X position is going to be 300 and the Y position is going to be 50. This last block of code you use when you actually want to run the function. And you just say the name of the function and an open and close parenthesis and a semicolon. Methods are not that complicated. It sounds like a totally different thing than a function, but in reality a method is a function. The only difference is that a method is a function attached to an object. Going back to the car analogy, if properties are the attributes or adjectives of something, like the car color, car make, car year, etc., methods are the verbs or actions that a car does or that your object does. For example, a car accelerates, it can brake, it can open a door. If you have something else like a lamp cannot accelerate or brake or open a door. A lamp can turn on and off. So methods are the same thing as functions, they're just attached to an object. And certain objects have particular methods associated with themselves, like a lamp or a car or a computer. You can also write custom methods. They're just about the same thing as a function. If you look at this code, it's just about the same as the function code from earlier. The only difference is that it says an instance name and a dot before the name of the function. And again, if this doesn't make sense, we're going to go back to it and we're going to write our custom functions in later tutorials. So to recap, a function is a reusable block of code, sort of like a verb or an action in Flash ActionScript, and if you want to, it can return a value. And a method is the same thing as a function, except it's attached to an object.